Hello everyone and welcome to another video. My name is Nikki Bird. I am the voice for those who yearn to upskill, innovate, disrupt the status quo, and recreate themselves in a world that's fast changing. I'm also the author of the best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. Now, if you are new to my channel, please take a quick moment and hit the subscribe button below. And if you find this video helpful, please also hit the like button. These actions support my channel and help me grow and create more amazing content for you just like this one.
Rwanda is new, something exciting, and something new to explore. Rwanda as a country do not want more aid. They want trade, they want investments.
President Kagame has decided that since the young people are the engine of development, they are the ones that can bring innovation much faster. They are the ones that can embrace the risk, they embrace the change, they drive the change, and they are tech savvy. For them, it's so easy to learn these technologies and to create stuff.
Kigali Innovation City is a government-led initiative focused on cultivating a critical mass of Pan-African talent in science, technology, innovation, engineering, mathematics, as well as entrepreneurial talent. The Rwandan government wants to accelerate the country's transition to a knowledge-based economy which hopes to transform Rwanda into Africa's tech and business hub. This gets me overly excited because it is going to send a strong message to the outside world that the image and the impression they have about Africa is not really what it is. Africa is rising, Africa is the future, and in this video you will know why Rwanda is my favorite country in Africa. So sit tight.
The Africa that the world meets is a continent of opportunity and partnership.
20% of the world's population live here. The most important way to connect people, to connect information, is going to be across digital platforms.
We've made a decision that Africa is tired of being in the dark, and therefore we need to accelerate universal access to electricity within 10 years.
What colonization and what conflict has done to this continent will be nothing compared to what a digital poverty will do if we don't make sure that internet access is actually made more broadly available.
75% of Africans are under 25, and they put pressure on policymakers, not only to have jobs, but also to see their lives changing.
Invest on the human capital, invest on the youth in their education, in their health.
We want to make sure Africa is ready in terms of skills, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of capacity to engage in that fourth industrial revolution.
Rwanda has come a long way since the genocide that claimed almost 1 million lives in 1994. Despite a near total lack of natural resources, the country continues to rise, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. One key to this turnaround is technology. President Paul Kagame, also known as the digital president, is positioning the country for an extraordinary leapfrog in the fourth industrial revolution with his Vision 2020 program and the National Strategy for Transformation 2017 to 2024. This means that Rwanda is very intentional about what they are doing. They are not waiting for a savior.
The Rwandan government are very goal-oriented. They really want to have results. They want to see how Rwanda can grow, and they work very hard. And I think what they have done, setting up the Rwanda Development Board, it takes 1 day to register a company, and the government is very accessible for business. I think Rwanda is special in terms of having 64% women in parliament.
It's the highest in the world. I mean, you find women being heads of institutions and directors of a number of businesses and government institutions.
It shows that the leadership has a tradition of not being afraid of hiring women.
10 years ago, Rwanda has 499 tourists. 2016, 1.3 million tourists entered Rwanda.
According to the IMF, Rwanda has an ambitious target to become an upper to middle income country by 2035 and a high income country by 2050. This, of course, will be achieved by technology adoption and innovation. Hence, Rwanda is being referred to as the Singapore of Africa and one of the fastest growing economies on the continent. The multi-billion-dollar flagship project is inspired by America's Silicon Valley, of course.
Rwanda's ICT sector has registered tremendous progress over the last 24 years, thanks to the leadership of our president and the partnership of ITU that has paved way for the private players to collaborate and co-invest in rolling out high broadband networks across the country. As we continue to seek ways to achieve our ambitious vision of becoming a knowledge-based economy, we've prioritized leveraging this state-of-the-art infrastructure to support the development of homegrown innovative solutions that address challenges that are unique to our continent. We are witness to the improved healthcare delivery powered by drones. Citizens and businesses in Rwanda are able to access services online, driving an inclusive, cashless and paperless economy. The impact of this new wave of innovations in developing economies is very transformational, making it possible to leapfrog generations of long-established technologies.
So Kigali Innovation City is a monumental milestone for Africa, an innovation effort focused on technological advancement, the future workforce, and a high-tech ecosystem centered around innovation and talent. It is the first of its kind on the continent and is all about building an ecosystem around Pan-African talent pool to support development, research, and innovative ideas that will transform not only Rwanda, but the African continent at large. COVID-19 pandemic has fast-forwarded Africa's adoption of digital technologies, and so there is an expectation and demand for more digital solutions, both in government and the private sector. The ecosystem being built in Rwanda, and specifically with the KIC, will be critical in driving the creation, adoption, and scaling up of tech-enabled solutions, not just in Rwanda, but across Africa, of course. The managing director at Kigali Innovation City, Tessie Ruzangara, says, "We expect that there will be an even greater demand and supply for relevant technologies for the African context in multiple sectors due to the pandemic." So the government of Rwanda plans to attract both domestic and foreign universities, technology companies, biotech firms, agriculture, healthcare, and financial services, infrastructure including commercial and retail real estate.
Technology is the unifier. So if you're talking of, for example, public transport, we're talking of smart transport. So that is transport driven by information communications technology. If you're talking of energy, you're talking of smart energy. And so technology becomes a unifier, and having a single cross-sector regulator brings all that together, builds synergies, and ensures that you have development that cuts across sectors and not just one single sector developing as a silo.
Let's talk about universal communication coverage. What efforts is Rwanda making in terms of providing that and bridging the digital divide?
Rwanda has been pushing for universal coverage for the last several years. In fact, as we speak today, we have more than 95% coverage of 4G in Rwanda, the largest coverage on the continent. And we continue to drive forward. We're now preparing for 5G. And so as a country, we have been working both to ensure that there's universal coverage, but also universal access, which now goes into the socioeconomics and affordability of devices and the service. But we've made a lot of headway in terms of access, in terms of affordability, and well on our way to universal service.
According to Paola Ingabire, Rwanda's Minister of ICT and Innovation, the KIC project has set itself the objectives of creating more than 50,000 jobs, generating $150 million in ICT exports per year, and attracting more than 300 million in foreign direct investments. This project started in 2018 and it's set to cost $2 billion US. I believe this is the kind of initiative the rest of African leaders and governments should emulate, instead of promising jobs that no longer exist to the masses as a means to secure more votes. Rwanda is Africa's example of courageous leadership with a focus on embracing the future and infusing the youth with hope. Times are changing, and so should the approach to solving economic and social ills. The new era being ushered by the Fourth Industrial Revolution demands that people be given the right resources and the infrastructure, and in so doing, they can create their own employment and livelihoods. In my book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted, I mentioned that you can do more today with your life having just an internet connection, and that's an opportunity our parents and grandparents never had, and Rwanda is looking forward to giving especially the youth this opportunity. And so, Rwanda is committed to becoming the gateway to a technologically developed Africa, and it is realizing this with a consistent development strategy that is a sight to behold, actually. Rwanda is one of the world's fastest growing economies, as I've already said, leading on the African continent, and infrastructural development.
Rwanda is a real trailblazer in Africa for the rollout of ICTs, but knowing how to use the technology that you have is incredibly important.
Absolutely. Today, post the 2015, Rwanda is suggesting for discussion that we should shift the focus from just connecting people to transforming lives. And the way you transform lives is you focus on services, contents, and applications that are relevant, that solve problems and bring solutions to issues that people face in their lives.
And this is about giving people access to government, giving people access either to have a say in government or to an access to e-government and government services.
Absolutely. We are doing this on multiple fronts. Opening government data is one thing, which is important, but also training the demand side so that people can know how to interpret the data and extract facts that can enhance our analysis and our understanding on the environment and possibly lead to better policies. It's something that we are pursuing.
Sadly, many African countries are still complaining about the negative impact on their development resulting from the legacy of colonialism, which position Africa to be perpetually at the mercy of the Western world. However, Rwanda is choosing the noble and daring act of rewriting the script of her future. Rwanda is consciously positioning herself for a technologically advanced world and genuinely giving the future generation tools to succeed in an era of exponential technologies and unprecedented change. Rwandan Minister of Youth and Information Technology, Jean Philbert, says, "We want technology to sort of permeate all the professions and all the jobs." And I would like to just pause a little bit, think about it. Like, it's really interesting to note that Rwanda has a Minister of Youth and Information Technology. This means that the country is paying attention to its greatest asset, which are the youth. Just think about it. Africa has the world's biggest youth population, yet many countries in Africa don't pay attention to this demographic. But Rwanda is doing things differently. Hopefully, you can see why I'm so in love with Rwanda.
ICT cuts across all the 17 goals and 69 targets. I can't think of anything that today you can accomplish without having an element of new technology. And ICT will basically help to push, drive the SDGs on two fronts. One is the speed, because when you apply ICT, you can reach your goal much faster. The second is efficiency, which brings the element of lowering the cost of achieving the SDGs. So whatever you take, whether you are talking about education or agriculture or environment or peacekeeping, ICT will be there. Education, for instance. Today we are talking about providing the same opportunities to our kids than anyone else in this world has in terms of access to the quality contents that they need to compete for the jobs of tomorrow, which we actually don't know. So preparing that generation to be critical thinkers for the soft skills they need to be competitive in the economies of tomorrow. I think it's a critical role that only ICT can play.
And so, hopefully the rest of the continent is watching and learning from Rwanda. A purposeful government and leadership abreast with what is trending, positioning herself to be a reference point for economic advancement and innovation through cutting-edge technologies. One of the ideas I've shared in my book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted, is that Africa's hopeful transformation lies in innovation and entrepreneurship, especially in viewing entrepreneurship as a career path, not only as the last resort for joblessness, as many youth seem to think. As the fourth industrial revolution takes center stage, Africa needs more entrepreneurs, innovators, tech hubs, startups, disruptors, inventors, pioneers and thought leaders. And we cannot afford to be reckless about what will transform our continent. There will be no soft landing for any government or anyone post-COVID-19. This pandemic has had far-reaching consequences beyond the spread of the diseases itself. So the time for Africa to innovate is now. And unless we innovate, we may perish. The time for disruption is now. The fourth industrial revolution, I believe, is Africa's greatest opportunity to leapfrog and compete on a global scale. And Rwanda is already leading the way and showing us the way.
The fourth industrial revolution is gaining momentum, with some of the emerging technologies growing exponentially. I would like to call on all member states to work together for a stronger union, capable of responding to the expectations of the membership, both now and in the future. Particular attention needs to be paid to ICT development issues in order to avoid a digital chasm between developed and the developing countries, which will have far greater consequences in the fourth industrial revolution than the digital divide in connectivity alone. We pledge our continuous support to the broader ITU vision and reiterate our commitment towards total global digital inclusion.
Last year, the KIC inaugurated its first anchor university, the Carnegie Mellon University Africa, the only U.S. research university offering full-time engineering master's degrees in Africa. While the KIC will host the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, two biotech companies from India and the US respectively, Cooper Pharma and Liv Pharmaceuticals, they also plan to open facilities at the KIC. This is quite exciting. So, Rwanda is showing us what is possible when you stop being a victim. If Rwanda was the poorest country in Africa, I think it would be perfectly understood based on their history. But you know what? They refuse to stay stuck in that past. I was in Rwanda in February of this year, 2020, just before coronavirus became a global pandemic. And I got to witness in real time an amazing transformation of the country. The story of Rwanda will be told many years to come, definitely.
I've been told that you've spoken about the importance of changing the culture, including a cool factor that has developed in Rwanda around taking risks and losing the fear of failure. Can you tell us more about that and why that's important?
So, I just pulled out the word cool factor in the talk, but it's a culture of risk, a culture of taking risks that was not very strong before, coming from a culture that was more risk averse to changing the mindset. And that's being done in different ways. One is through these communities that are coming together, for example, at the Tech Hub that I mentioned. Young people coming together, getting mentorship from more experienced entrepreneurs who have been through it, who have understood that, to get to success, you build in a pyramid of failure and to begin to see that failure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's more you're trying, it's experimenting and learning. Another way that's I think is very key is in the universities. So today in the universities there's a number of communities that are bringing together students to experiment with their ideas, to come and talk about their ideas, to try and build and fail. And I think it's a very key time because you're in your third year of school, what do you have to lose? By the time you get out of school, you begin to appreciate what failure, quote unquote, is teaching you. And that's something that's being done in different areas, but it's something that's new because in Rwanda before you took a job, you got out of school and you took a job and you do not go and, failure was not viewed to be a good thing, but now it's, I wouldn't call it maybe cool, but it's okay to fail, it's okay to learn. It's okay to grow, and then at some point you can use the lessons learned to build something successful. Yeah.
And so, dear fellow Africans, we have a continent to build. We are the heroes we've been waiting for. Wakanda is real. And so, if you are intrigued to know more about the innovations that are happening across the African continent, you can get my best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself, or Be Disrupted. It's available on Amazon and on my website. I'll share the links in the descriptions below. And if you're interested in this t-shirt as well, you can get it on my website. The links will be in the description below. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and thank you for watching. I am looking forward to seeing you in my next video.